Turbo goodness. Hopefully I'll be a turbo owner. That'll be good. We're live. It is 5:17, and tonight we're gonna talk about what's going on with my lighting here. I'm not too happy with that. Not too happy with what's up. Today we're going to talk about. I think I'm going tomorrow to pick up a Sprint Turbo. I have made arrangements, and I've got a tow dolly all rented, and so I can pick that up tomorrow. It's not too far away. It's 35 or 40 miles or whatever for me, so it's not a big deal. So I'm going to go over and take a look at it. So thanks to all the people who are helping with out there spotting for me. I think that this one will work. You know, no car that you ever go buy, certainly any kind of used car. I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but no used car is ever the perfect one. You know, I don't remember getting one that I thought was perfect. The for engines though, this L33 has got to be pretty much perfect. It's worked fantastic. But I'm trying to think back of the perfect car that I've gotten that's worked out great. Maybe the Civic VX has worked perfect. Even this last Sprint that I had was not ideal. It had overheated and it had some issues and stuff. Mostly just leaks from the system, from the radiator and stuff. But we put work into it. But it was fun driving around. I liked it, and I like it enough to get another one. And I'm gonna try to set some land speed records with it. It's the right kind of car. It's the right kind of engine, right displacement anyway. I wish it was a 4-valve motor because it would be a lot easier to do that with a 1-liter deal. But it will still serve its purpose, I think. And there are lots of classes that I can run it in. And I know a lot about this motor, so I've played with it a lot. We've experimented with it, and the easy thing about all of this is that it is a turbo motor, so there's no reason to not. I'm gonna see if this will this change. Yeah, it is going to change the lighting. I think that it was picking up on the white of the jacket. There we go. That's much better. It didn't like that. It was white, trying to white balance that. It's not good. So you have a turbo motor. Anytime you have a factory turbo motor or even an aftermarket turbo motor, it's like a license to steal. It's like, hey, look, do we want more power? Yeah, let's just go up a little bit. And you can do that. The limitation on that particular vehicle is that, or not the vehicle, is really the management system. It has a vane meter on it. So there's a limit. There's a limit to how much you can, how much more power you can coax out of it without it being able to get in and, basically tune the factory computer. So you got to put a standalone on it, but I'm excited working with the guys from Haltech. And so shout out to the Haltech guys. We're going to put a Haltech on it, run the 3-cylinder on a Haltech, and that will be awesome. If we can get that hooked up and get that working, that will be great. So Haltech guys, if you're listening, if you want to lend a hand with a hookup on that, that's fantastic. But I think we can, between the people that I have working on this, I think we can get that done. If we can, and I can tune this thing, after that, all the other things are easy to solve. As long as that works out and we can actually run the 3-cylinder and I can tell it I want 11.5 to 1 and I want whatever degrees of timing I want after we test it, then if I can do that, then we can do all the other things, head studs and different injectors and intercoolers and ported heads and cams and all of that stuff. All of that stuff's fairly easy to do. I have lots of this stuff that's been sitting around for a long time, and we can employ a lot of that stuff, including forged rods and pistons, which I have, so we could do a built motor. I don't know if it's necessary for what we're trying to do, but we have it, so we might try it. But that's not the question. The question for tonight is, so we'll do a poll on this. Okay, might be picking up a turbo Sprint tomorrow. The question is, will it start and run after a little bit of work, let's say? Because whenever you get these things and they haven't run for a long time, you always have to do something with them, like with the Metro that I have, which I'm going to be selling. So if anybody wants a Metro XFI, please let me know. I think I want to try to do one more video with that where we run the AMR again and run a turbo, maybe run both of them, just do a kind of a quickie thing on that. But after that, I was going to use that for Bonneville, but we don't have to. So if somebody's looking for a real XFI, this car is rough. It's not something you want to drive around in. But if you're looking for XFI parts, this has a lot of that. It has brand new tires on it. It's got, we just did a new battery for it and just did a tune up on it and everything. The motor runs good. It's just that it's seriously rough. And so it's not something you want to be driving around in if you want to strip it. And it comes with, some extra things. So if anybody's interested in that XFI, let me know. But on the Sprint, the question is it going to run? So, when you go the YouTube is full of these kinds of things. Guys go someplace and can we get this started? And so the things range from it's just locked up and it's full of rust because it's been sitting with spark plugs out of it or the carburetor's off of it or whatever. And the cylinders have just filled up with water and there's no way it's ever going to run because it's just rusted solid. To, sometimes you just got to hook a battery up to it, spray some fuel in it, and it starts right up. So it could be any, there's that whole spectrum there. So the question is, I don't know what condition this is. I don't think that the owner knows what the history of that motor is necessarily. It has a motor and trans in it. I don't think that the two are working together right now. It looks like all of the things are there from the photo. The question is, can we get it running? Does it, if it has one dead hole, that's 33% down. That's a lot. So if it has a dead hole, that's not good. I haven't even checked. I don't know if the motor spins over, if it spins over freely. I don't know any of that. So when we go there, the question is, will it run? So can we kind of take the plugs out? And because when I get it back here, that's what we'll do. We'll take the plugs out. We'll see if it's, I'll just move it by hand with a ratchet. We'll see if that spins over. If that's okay, then we'll obviously make sure that it has oil and we'll spin it over, maybe do a cranking compression test. If it has that, that's good. We can check and see if the injectors are firing. I need to put a battery in it, which I'll just go steal the battery out of the Metro because it's not using that right now. We can do that. We can get some fuel to it and then just see if it, if it starts. Maybe it'll start and run. And here's why that's important. We're going to, as I said, we're going to do a standalone management system on, and that's definitely going to happen for the Bonneville effort. Between the Bonneville effort and now, there's another event that's for street cars, and I'm going to be doing a video with the guys on that, where you could take your street car out and run it at Bonneville. It has to be a licensed, registered street car, and there's the rub. I would need to make this thing a licensed, registered street car. That's not a race car, because they're not for that event. They're not interested in Bonneville race cars. They're interested in these are street cars. Bring your street car out and go out and run this 1.5 mile run, which is cool. So I'd like to do that. So I need to make it a different thing than a Bonneville race car to do that. So we want to make it into, I'd like to get it running. We could do the same thing. I would put a clutch in it because we would not want the clutch to slip. We would want to do a clutch in it. I would want to, if it's a good motor, and even if it's not, I have another motor I can just put right in it. So that's not a problem. I have a good running motor that came out of my car and it worked perfect. So a motor swap in that is a one-day thing. It's just in and out. That's not a problem. And because I have to separate the engine and trans anyway, I need to put a clutch in it. And so we'll surface the flywheel, put a clutch and a flywheel and pressure plate in there, put that in there, connect the trans back together, and then we can put it back in. And so if I have to do that with my motor, that's an easy deal. It's already running. And then we could do the things that we did the last time that I took it out and we ran it at the Maxton mile. We could get this thing up to 110 or 20 or whatever at the tire, and we could make some runs like that and just kind of see what happens. I still have all those pieces. I have the air-to-water intercooler. I've got the adjustable fuel pressure regulator. We've got bigger injectors. We've got all the things that we need. And so we can make that happen. And I could run it in that event. And between now and then, we could we could put the cage in it. We could do all that stuff that we're prepping for Bonneville because it could still have that when we go run it out at this event. So that's all of the plans. That's why this is so exciting. But the question still is, can we take this thing and, will it spin over? Does it have oil pressure? Can we get the injectors to work? They've probably been sitting there for a long time. So we're going to have to tap on them and make sure that they work. The fuel, I'm sure if there is any fuel in there, it's not good. So we got to drain that and then put new fuel in it. We can flush that all through. That's not a big deal. You know, none of that stuff is insurmountable unless something's bad in the motor. You know, hopefully it's not, like I said, it's not rusted shut or something like that. So you never know. So that's, you know, we're excited about that. Then I want the transmission to work, obviously. I think it comes with other spare parts, maybe an engine and transmission, another one, which you can never have too many parts. Parts is parts. And then we can, while that's going on, I can put together the other motor, and then we could, you know, kind of get more serious about it. I'm excited about that. I got to take a block and a head over to the guys at ARP, and they said that they would get me situated with head studs for that, because I want to put head studs on it. Talked to another viewer, and I'm going to get a MLS head gasket from him. I've got an intake manifold that I just have to finish making. You know, all of the stuff is kind of in place. So if we can get the Haltech working and I can tune that and go, hey, look, I need a little more, a little less, whatever, a little more, a little less timing, whatever, all of that's fine. And even honestly, if we had to make this thing work with just programming the fuel, and I had to run the vacuum advanced boost retard distributor, I'd do that. I just put it at a fixed amount where it's not going to hurt anything. But it would be better to be able to tune the timing, because that's a critical part of getting a turbo car, and especially a high boost turbo car, to work and run. The other thing that I found through the gentleman in Canada that was looking for other cars for me, he has the final drive that I need, because the tallest final drive for these is a 352. The XFI has a 379. I want a 352 so that I don't have to run a lot of engine speed. So if we don't run a lot of engine speed, I think things are safer. You know, we can make the power and not have to run a ton of engine speed. We can adjust all that stuff with, you know, tire size and everything. So get it to go the kind of speeds that we need to go. So I'm excited about that. So that's tomorrow morning. That's what we're going to do. We're going to find out. Wow, we got a 93%. Yes, it's going to run. I do like the enthusiasm. We got, like I said, I'm excited about it. I was a little skeptical when I went and pick up the Metro, because, like I said, it was not in good shape, and it was really only running on 2 when I picked it up, but we did get it running on the 3rd one. It was not a major issue. So if it's little things like a spark plug or plug wire or cap or rotor, you know, anything like that, if it's a broken camshaft, that's not going to be good. The interior in this thing's pretty nice. The outside's pretty nice. One of the cars he has it's a red one, has Panasports on it. It's really nice. If anybody's looking to get a really good example of a turbo sprint, he has a couple of them. He has that one, and then he has basically, which is a modified one, and then he has a stock white one too, which is really cool. For what I'm doing, I don't want one that's that nice, because we're going to take it to Bonneville, and we're going to be taking all the interior out anyway, eventually, to put the cage in and all that, to put a racing seat in it and all that stuff. So I just don't want something that's really nice that we're just going to destroy because we're making it into a race car anyways. But it brings back good memories for me, because my son, when I was growing, that's the car I had. I used to take all the trips to West Tech, no AC, you know, 115 degrees. It was miserable, but we spent a lot of time together, so it's kind of cool. So we'll see what you guys got going on, and I will update you on the next live feed that I do tomorrow. We'll tell you what's happening with that. I'll get it back here, and I got to find a place for it and all that stuff. I'm sure you'll make it run. Yeah, if I have to swap in the other motor, we'll get it to run. Easter eggs, Suzuki Swift GT. Those are cool. Yeah, I wish I had the 1.3 twin cam head in a 3-cylinder version on this motor. That'd be much nicer. Water pump in my truck. Currently fighting the spring hose clamps on the new hoses. Only 2 bloody fingers so far. Yeah, those will get you. I met an old guy who had the land speed record back in the early 2000s. Super nice guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The Hudson boys are the guys that have all of the records that I'm looking at. I've talked to them on a number of occasions. They're really good guys, and they're crazy Bonneville guys, which is just like, to me that means just that they're awesome. That's the best compliment I could get somebody. Okay, I'll see you. E equals boost times cam squared. Yeah. It's the theory of boostivity. Sweet looking shirt. These shirts are for sale. They're on these shirts are for sale on Teespring, actually. Haltech Rebel will solve that problem, but it does nothing for the 30-year-old car. Yeah, but I think you mean awesomeness. Wales is in the house. An XFI, higher final drive. Yeah, the final drive on the XFI is a 385, I think, depending on what year it is, right? The 352 is not in an XFI. That's actually in a single cam 4-cylinder. Like the 1-liter engines, I probably need a can of Hope, fresh fuel, and a bit of cleanup, air filter, fuel filter, battery, etc. Maybe a bit of oil down. Yeah, and turn it by hand. I'm going to do all of that, and I'm also going to steam clean everything because I have a steam cleaner, so we'll spray it all off. It just has a lot of dirt on it, not necessarily grease or anything. The older stuff is tough as nails, unless it won't turn over. Winston, what's gone? 3-Tech cam. If Mike is still around, regrinding them. Yeah, I won't use. I know the name Mike Cove because back when I had mine, we were dealing with those groups or forums or whatever, and so I'm familiar with him. Seafoam in the gas tank. New fuel compression test, of course. Yeah, I put a 1-liter in my 0-turn mower. Nice. Daniel Powell can regrind the chems. I'm having it done at Schneider. They're local. They're in San Diego. So I just need to go down to West Tech, which I'm going to go do this week. Excuse me. And I'm going to pick up my cam that I have, or I could take this cam out or one of these cams and send it to him. In fact, I'll probably do that. That makes more sense. I'm sending it to Schneider so he can regrind it. He's done a bunch of those. In fact, I was told that they did the original cams for GM. That's what I'm told. I'm looking at an 88 Corvette for a decent price. It'd be cool to turbo it, plus a few other things to make a homemade Callaway. Yeah, not a sledgehammer, but a Callaway twin turbo. Yeah, if you're familiar with that. Yeah, it would be fun. I have videos up of turbocharging a tune port motor, which is what they did. The sledgehammer was a dedicated motor build that Lingenfelter did. That was the really fast top speed thing that they did. That wasn't a Callaway twin turbo motor like from the production stuff. Those were just turbos on a stock motor essentially. They did a few modifications to it, but they had a micro fueler on it and stuff. It just was, it was not ideal, but they are cool. Mike did my cams with my Swift GT. Overkill is always cool in a lawnmower. Chevy Sprint was my first car, 3-cylinder stick shift. Yeah, this is a 5-speed. Okay, 2001 5.3 handle, 500 horsepower with twin turbo stock. Will it be reliable? Yes. Yeah, it will handle a lot more than that. My Suzuki Experience has a new head gasket and studies will make it more reliable. And a Sprint blew a head gasket and was well maintained always. So you think that they just blow head gaskets like willy-nilly or something? The Swifts were good little cars. I remember there was a Swift GT when I was running World Challenge in the class below us, and it was fast. It was a really cool car. Dennis, what's going on? Can you chop the top on a Sprint? We can in one of the classes, but we're not going to do that. Yes, they had one of the 3 fastest ones on motor in the world. So you knew of everybody that had was it a drag race car or something? And the guys in Puerto Rico might have something to say about that. 3 cylinders of Miata gapping. The Metro, not a lot of support for it in the aftermarket. Where are you getting an MLS G10 head gasket? I've been looking for one for quite a while. One of the guys that's on here has one. Canada car, people's definition of no rust differs between salt belt people and non-salt belt people. The one that I'm getting is in California, but so it's not coming from California. because I Lifeline, I have a bunch of, oh, that's Morgan. I have a bunch of the Felpro gaskets, but you really need something better than that for going crazy on these things. I think I've always used MLS stuff on any of the boosted stuff that we've done. I've never done hoops or anything like that, but I don't think that this is necessary for this particular thing. I think guys have run. Who's the guy that just did the compound thing on? He's on Facebook. He just did a compound deal on methanol. I think he did it with no intercooler too, and he was running like, I don't know, 35 or 40 pounds. I have a G13B MLS gasket, but haven't found a G10. Drag racing quarter mile. Okay. And what did the car run, Daniel? There. Lifeline, did Cometic make the 13B head gaskets? I mean, I think that they're kind of the go-to guys for that. I have to check out those videos. You did. It must have been confused on the Callaway Lingenfelter thing. It's been a while. Yeah, Lingenfelter did the motors, and he's the guy that drove it. And then I think that they might have let Reeves drive it after that, if I remember the story right. But yeah, the motor that they ran in that car was a motor that Lingenfelter built in the one that went 255 or 258 or what. You have Salt Flat Racing in mind for the Metro or something else, or just a street car. The Metro I'm going to sell. The Sprint Turbo is going to Bonneville. Yeah, definitely. I ordered theirs and it was a fabric gasket. Uh-oh. 14.9, no turbo, no nitrous. Okay. I think it was 255 on the Callaway. Yeah, I can't remember the exact number. It's fast, though. That's really fast. But a Corvette's a really slippery package. And, you know, on a twin turbo small block Chevy, I think that they were in the 800 to 900 horsepower range. So that's quite a bit. Yeah, that's still really fast. I know that they hurt a few of the Callaway twin turbo deals when they did top speed testing with those, because I just don't think that they have good. I just don't think that back then they didn't have good fuel distribution. You're adding the additional ejectors in front of the common plenum for the tune port, and I just don't know how even it all gets to all the cylinders. I'd be terrified going that fast on the salt and sand. No, at Bonneville, there's not really a sensation of speed when you're going that fast. And also, very rarely do cars like flip over and tumble. A lot of times they spin, but you got a parachute, and so it's way safer to do it out there than it is to do that sort of nonsense on the street. Well, not on the street, but you can't do that. And also in a Corvette, it'd be harder, and in any kind of rear-wheel drive car at Bonneville, it's harder to do that because the back end wants to pass the front end, and it's hard putting power down. That's why guys put so much weight in the back so they could plant the tires, and so they have traction. A front-wheel drive car, that's not an issue. It's it just goes. I mean, you can overwhelm the tires and the available traction, but it doesn't want to swap ends when you do that. So it's not as disconcerting, because you know what happens if there's lean or any sort of load in either direction and you spin the tires, it just wants the backside wants to go that way. Racing cars today. You don't think racing cars is dangerous anymore, Dan? We're live. So is the ground soft like the beach, or is it more like a hard packed sand? Never been out there. It's hard. It's just that it has salt on it. So it's not like you're walking in the beach and stepping down into it. It's not like you have to have paddle tires or anything, because a lot of times the salt's not very thick. But it's not like doing it on asphalt. What's target AFR for a boosted engine? Do you shoot for a little leaner or fatter for safety? Normally in the 11s. We will go as lean as 12.0 when we're trying to make a lot of power, like for a dyno run. Normally it's 11.5, and can be like for Bonneville when we're running it, it might be richer than 11.5, just to make sure that it's safe. Our Fallon's wrecked over 500 and walked away from the ambulance. Yeah, Craig Breedlove skated for 6 miles and landed in the lake. For my next trick, I'll set myself on fire. NASCAR drivers walk away from crashes and pick fights with the guy who spun them out. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure the adrenaline's pumping. Trying to install these clamps with one pair of the cheapest garage sale pliers. That's hard to do. Having the right set of pliers for that is, and the factory stuff with those. I mean, the spring-loaded clamps work really well and they last for a long time, but they can be a pain to get off. They can be problematic. Yeah, it is. Your money ahead just going and getting stuff and making it right. We'll be near Pendine Sands in December for a week. Might take a shovel and see if I can dig up any parts of Babs. Check out the zip tie hack. Is that where you squeeze it and zip tie it in place so that it doesn't go anywhere? And then sometimes just getting them off, because they've dug down in so far and made an imprint. And even when you release the tension all the way by squeezing it, they don't want to go back up over the hose. Have you seen Talladega Nights? High-speed crash injuries are all just in your head, Ricky Bobby. Yeah, I have seen Talladega Nights. I have all the right tools in my toolbox at work, 40 miles away. Walmart is 3 miles away. Everything else is closed. Magic Man and El Diablo. Yeah. I really like the interior on the Sprints too, on the turbos. I like the patterns on the seats and stuff. Although I would always get them, they would imprint on my shirts because I'd be driving and sweating and it'd be 100 degrees, and then I'd get up and I'd like, oh yeah, look at that. I have the shirt color and pattern on. I mean, I have the seat color and pattern on the back of my shirt now. It's not cool, man. Not cool. But I'm excited. I didn't want to get a car that wasn't like a running car, but as usual, it's like coming in on a trailer. Is this the one from the Facebook page? I think he did end up posting it yesterday or today, but we were looking at it this last weekend. One of the guys, Nick, was taking a look at it for me, and he called me and sent me all the photos. I think we're referring to the fire that was invisible in the 80s. Yeah, with that fuel. Only the best die for the Sprints. Yeah. Yeah, and they're from the 80s, so it's a long way. Is the Sprint a 2.2 or a 2.4? The Sprint is a 1.0. On TV, the race where guys are on fire, but you can't see it. Yeah, the Indy cars were like that. If it's burned and you can't see it, that's why you should always race at night. Then maybe you could see the fire. Changed the fuel pump. My truck at the top of the Grapevine. Bought the tools and fuel pump from the auto parts store. in Lebec or Lebec. You got to do what you got to do, man. K cars were 2.2 and 2.4. Yeah, Dodge Omnis and stuff, and I have one of those too, but that's not the car we're talking about. A Chevy Sprint is not that, and the Metro is not that. They're different. The Omni that I have is a 2.2 turbo. And the big block ones were 2.4, which is even better because it's better to have. It helps boost response and stuff. But they had to torque manage a bunch of the torque out of those for transmission life and stuff. Watching one of your other lives the other day with the sound over the truck speakers while driving. Your fan or something started making clicky noise. You thought you threw a rod. Yeah, no, that's not it. Remember the Sprint Turbo guys, Pontiac Firefly guys? Yeah, the Firefly guys are up in Canada. I was looking at those. Those are later actually. I always thought Ford Aspire GT was a good-looking car. What's the difference between a Chevy Sprint and a GMC Sprint? Isn't the GMC Sprint isn't that a truck? And wasn't there a Pontiac one also? I mean, that name has been used on a lot of stuff. But that's the cool thing about the Firefly is it is a Pontiac. So then I could hang out with the Pontiac guys. And I could tell them that motor was a small block. And that the 455 is a big block. Not to be confused with the Dodge Spirit. Yep, completely different. Yeah, I was talking to Ben from the Car Farm, and he was talking about swapping the Spirit RT motor into a non 4-valve car. Danny, what's going on? That because he liked the way that they sounded, and that is a good motor. It's a lot better than the 8-valve one. A lot different. What cars are we talking about? Well, now people are talking about all kinds of different cars, but the one on the thumbnail is a 1987-88 Chevy Sprint Turbo. So 1 liter 3-cylinder. It's not a small block; it's a micro block. Yeah. Sprint Turbo-y goodness. Not yeah, it looks like a Geo Metro, yeah, same family. They just didn't do a Metro Turbo. They did other versions with 70 horsepower. So when you're stepping up to a V10 Dodge or Audi V10 stock block can go to 40 psi. I know nothing about either one of those. I don't think a Dodge V10 will be anywhere near that. Me and the Viper one, not the truck one. Guys run a lot on the Viper stuff, I think, and on the Audi stuff in the roll racing. But I've never even looked at one of those. I don't know anything about them. Metro 50 miles per gallon fits on the sidewalk. Do you have any small block Chevy stuff? I have some small block Chevy valve covers, some finned aluminum valve covers, I think. Hayabusa swap. Hayabusa engine would be too big for the class that we're in, so we'd need a 1 liter bike engine. Can you put a tri-tip exhaust on it as a nod to the 3-cylinder? Yeah, we can. Roller cam springs, 800 horsepower turbo motor. I don't think I have any. I have to look and see. I have some cams in my box of stuff here, my storage here. I can look and see, but I don't think any small block stuff is going to be good for that. Well, I mean, if I have a 218, 224 cam, it would do that. Big block for us was the Swift Metro guys, were the 1.6 out of a Grand Vitara. Everyone, yeah, those are the engines that the pistons that all the Honda guys use. and do a G13V head and a 1.6 bottom end. It wouldn't rev higher, but it had more torque. Yeah, a 4-valve 1.6 would be good, as long as the ports were and the valves were big enough to support. They had head flow. I don't know how that head flows, but I would like to have that head but in a 3-cylinder version. ZX10, yep, that would be good. And any of those 1-liter bike engines that make between 150 and 200 horsepower NA would be good. We had what's called an MG Metro. Yeah, we know what those are. That's a whole different thing. What about a diesel BMW? What about it? Side-by-side motors or 3-cylinder, 1 liter or less. You can make the belt survive. If you can make the belt survive. Sometimes with the bike engines and stuff, and maybe it's the same thing with a side-by-side. I don't know what is the transmission like on a side-by-side one, because that'd be a good one. What's the class you're running? There's something who has a custom-made double overhead cam 3-cylinder head for a G10. I'll send you an email. Yeah, let me take a look at it. I think that this 4-valve head can be cut and welded so that it can be run on this motor. It honestly would be easier for me just to make a 1-liter, a B10, a Honda B series 1-liter. I already have all the specs done for it, so it'd be easy just to change the stroke dramatically and have a B series engine or even a K series engine that has a really good cylinder head, way better than that one, and could make a lot of power and just goes right in and stuff. Okay, what I would put in, assorted quad 4 with the flaws taken care of. Yeah, quad 4 is way too big for what we're doing. Your shop's building 35 diesels. Oh, the BMW stuff. Testing a big bang on a diesel engine. Yeah, that's not going to happen. 1,000 horsepower 3-cylinder from Steve Morris. Side-by-sides have a rubber belt, CVT into a gearbox. Okay. Yeah, the CVT is not something I would run. I would want it to be a manual trans. What's the purpose? The purpose of the car is to go to Bonneville and set some more land speed records. I've already set them in the past, not at Bonneville, but at the Maxton Mile. I've already set, we set 2 of them, and we're setting the 3rd one when the clutch started slipping. I bet Alan Milliard could get a pro stock head to fit. It's a lot of money to blow up. BMW parts are the hardest parts. Hardest parts about owning them. No BMW diesel testing. Well, no diesel testing at all. The guys at West Tech won't run any diesels on there. Are you going to gut the car? Yeah, it doesn't need to be gutted because weight is not an issue at all. We have to put in the necessary safety things. So we have to put a cage in and a racing seat and a fire extinguisher. I don't think a fire system. If it is a fire system for that speed, it's only a single nozzle kind of thing. So, and harnesses and stuff. So all that stuff will have to be there. The 1 liter is for, because that's how they designate classes at Bonneville. They have different like allowable modification classes for the body. And then within all of those, you have different classifications for engine size. So you can go down to 50 cc's, or I don't know what the smallest one is, but 1 liter, 1.5 liter, 2 liter, 2.5, 3, all the way up. And so we want to run in a 1 liter class. Good luck with the car. Hope it works out. Yeah, I'll let everybody know how the thing's going. Like I said, if we can get the fuel injection to work, all the other stuff I've already done. Have you seen one of the Honda motors that had the chopped off Civic engine use the same water pump alternator? I have not. Have you ever tried the Texas Mile? I've never been to the Texas Mile. The only one I've been to that's a standing mile one was back in Maxton. That was a Maxton Mile in North Carolina. But those are cool. We're thinking about, after we put the LS into the Mustang, maybe doing some Texas Mile stuff. Wish I was closer. I'm glad I lent a hand. And my knowledge of those cars. Now I'm a 3800 guy. The Yamaha SRX and Sidewinder snowmobiles are being tuned at 240 up to 270, which is crazy. Yeah, that's cool. The one thing that I haven't seen with any of those cars, with these 1 liters, and to the same extent the 2.2 stuff, which is why I want to do a bunch of the Omni stuff, is that there's not a lot of data there. I remember when I first started this, like with the Omni stuff, is going down and trying to find actual dyno results. Well, here's the cam everybody uses. Okay, well, great, but what does it do? Oh, it makes more. Well, how do you know that? Like, what does it do? Like, let's run the stock one at 10 pounds, and then let's run this other one at 10 pounds, and then see what it does. And more importantly, let's just test it NA. Let's see what, let's take and none of the turbo guys are ever going to do that. And I understand why. They're not going to run it on an engine dyno. They're going to do it on a chassis dyno. And you're not going to want to take the turbo and everything off, because it's just a lot of work. But it would tell us what the cam does. And that sort of data is not out there. Oh, I put a ported head on it. Yeah, but you put a big turbo and all kinds of other things on there. So we don't know what the ported head did. What does the ported head do? What does the bigger turbo do? What does the header do? What does a bigger exhaust do? I want to know. I want to see dedicated back-to-back stuff of all of that, to see what, or I want to provide that so that we know exactly what that does. Yes, here's what it is. When we went from a stock exhaust to a 2.5-inch exhaust at 10 pounds or 15 pounds, whatever we were running at, here's what happened. And here's how much power it was worth. Same thing with the Sprint Turbo, is that I'm sure that nobody else did nearly as much back-to-back chassis dyno testing on that motor as I did. I never saw any of it. Nobody did anything. There was all of these guys that said, oh yeah, you get this +6 sprocket or +2 sprocket or whatever. I'm like, that's great. You're advancing it or retarding it. Both of those can be good, but what does it do? Oh, it just feels better. I don't want it feels better. I want to know that it lost 2 horsepower down low and gained 2 horsepower at the top. I want to know where the crossover is. I want to know all of that stuff. Just saying that it felt better or it felt worse is not enough. And also, if you're limited by, and the same thing happened with the Dodge guys, if you're limited and you make the modification, but you're limited by what the factory ECU does, you're limited. There's nothing there. And so I want to shake these people. Have you done any testing on Trailblazer SS inline 6 turbos? Yes, it's an Atlas, and I have videos up on that. We did run a turbo on one of those. Calvin over at Nivlac 57, I think is what his is. Yeah, he's done a bunch of that. Yamaha 998, 5.6 speed, sequential, not CVT. Okay, that'd be good. Should be around 1,800 pounds. Should be, let's see, what in your opinion to put behind an LS3, 4L80 or Turbo 400? Good, bad, and the ugly. I myself would do a 4L80 because I drive on the freeway a lot. So I would want the overdrive trans. Either one of them will work if you build them properly. And I don't know how much power you're trying to put down. So, you have to build the transmission accordingly. The Trailblazer now is a 3-cylinder. Okay. Engine management systems now leaps and bounds over old OBD1 tech. And especially if guys, in a lot of cases, guys were not doing anything to upgrade the ECU. I'm going to put a stage 2 computer on there. Yeah, but what does it do? What does the air fuel look like after you do that? Like I said, can I lower the spring pressure on a wastegate if I take a revolution out of the spring, or would that increase? If you cut a coil, it will increase the spring rate. I'm very interested to see your data. You're right. There's no information out there for these engines, and the old Team Swift forums are gone. Yeah, and the Team Swift forums, I went on there a lot, and all I got was, I said, look, here's the things that I just did. Oh, well, everyone's already done that. I'm like, yeah, but look, here's the data. I took this car out, ran it bone stock. Here is the air fuel. Here is the boost. I didn't have timing. I had charge temperature and we had radar verification. And then here's what it did after we put it on the dyno. Here are the back-to-back curves of me changing the, like I showed the other night, me dropping the exhaust, me changing the reference line, me adding boost. Here's all these things. And then here are these other top, because we did a lot of top speed testing with it. Here are all these top speeds where we ran it out at Mexico. And here's what they did with each one of these mods. They're like, oh yeah, but all of that stuff's already been done. I said, well, show me. Where's the data that you guys have done any of this? Chirp, 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 chirp. That's crickets. They didn't have any data. All they had was, hey, look, you can't come here and be the guy or be the guy that's providing data because we're all the guy. We've been here longer, so we're the guy. Okay. Yeah, that's not cool. Probably get a lot of torque out of the old Honda flat 6s, 1000 cc's on the gold wings. Yeah, that the gold wing would not be one that I would pick. That's probably 100 horsepower, and all the other stuff is 200. I stopped modding mine because the next step was turbo, and the car was too clean to hack up. In fact, my Swift GT was in modified magazine in 2010. Did you ever build a Vortec 200? Yeah, we ran one with boost. It's up. That video's up. When will you publish the cone exhaust video? And did you measure back pressure? Use an electronic boost controller? Nope, we did not use any of that. So you'll just be frustrated, but it does make more power. And I wanted to go all-wheel drive, but at the time it was starting 7,000 for the all-wheel drive system. That would certainly help with traction. Would a 3584 be laggy on a stock 3.8 liter Mustang, 190 horsepower? Probably not. The early trackers, I don't know how much power you're trying to make. You could go with certainly a smaller turbo than that, and it would be more responsive. But I don't know how much power you're trying to make. The early trackers make good mini trail rigs too. Any update on the BTR heads? Is your friend going to produce the heads? They're making the heads. I just don't. I don't have any test data on them. GoFundMe page for V10 Dodge testing. I don't have any V10s, and we don't have a way to run them on the dyno either. Honda Kai trucks. Do you have any idea which series they are? Which series what? Which series engine that they are? But with a Goldwing engine, you could all-wheel drive Subaru transmission. Oh, okay. We don't want all-wheel drive on the at Bonneville. I don't know, Craig. I would have to look that up. They're not a B or a K or a D that I know of. Team Swift is gone. I found a Windsor version of my car. I feel like be tempted to do things like cylinder heads or just source a 368 engine turbo inline six. Sounds much cheaper. I don't know what car you're talking about. Do you believe an LQ4 is better for boost than an LQ9? In what way is it better? One of them, the only difference, one of them has a different cam, and one of them, the LQ9 can have a different cam than the LQ4. It certainly has higher compression. So if you run 8 pounds on both of them, the one that has more compression is going to make more power. But that's not usually the question, and that's probably not your question. Your question is which one of them is going to work best on pump gas. Samurai is the best mini trail rig I've ever been in, better than the Tracker engine. Okay. Is it possible to get newer style pistons with thinner rings with lower tension to work in that engine? There should be an increase in power using something like that. Yeah, I don't remember what the ring pack was. I have Wiseco pistons for mine, and I don't remember what the ring pack is. I wouldn't be as concerned with that power output, given the fact that we have a turbo, and so we have turbos that can make more power than that motor can make. They could provide more power than that motor could stand. So that's not really an issue. We're not trying to nickel and dime little things to make it work, because we have the big thing that could, we can make 3 or 4 or 500 horsepower if we wanted to do that. So we have no shortage of power to be able to make. Knowing how tough these engines are, I'm going to say yes, unless it has electrical gremlins. Are you running a crank trigger in a sequential or batch? We will. I don't think I need to run sequential. We probably will run a batch. We love data, at least me and other guys on the forums. There were some. Yeah, there is always in any forum, certainly, there are hierarchies. The one guy, because there's always going to be one guy there. Sometimes there's 2 or 3, but usually there's one guy. His car is the fastest or the quickest or the most power. He's made the most power. When they have dyno days, his always makes more. He's the king. And so everyone listens to him because somehow his motor made a lot of power. I don't think that that's a good way to judge knowledge and information, but that's forums. That's forums going in, and then somebody new coming in thinking, hey, look, I have a lot of data to share. No, you can't do that. I think all Kai trucks were little 3-cylinder engines, 660 cc's. They were. I just don't know what engine family they were. Guy around here had an LS and a Samurai. Told him just to put death trap on the windshield. Yeah, they do tip over, huh? They're a little tippy. Big question. Have you started tuning the LT engines, and do you know how to mess with injection timing? I know how to alter injection timing. I'm not a tuner and don't tune LT motors. But changing the injection timing on an LT definitely changes power. I haven't seen it do that on the LS stuff. I could see where you might be able to lose power, but I didn't see where we could gain a bunch. 90s Falcons. Okay, yeah, that's why we don't recognize that. Maybe you should write a book in injection modifying timing on LT engines. Nope, I'd be the wrong guy to do that because I'm not a tuner. What fuel class are you running in? We can run gas and fuel. Those are the 2 classes. And so also, like I said, the different body modifications and then different engine displacements and then gas or fuel. Also, both of those for all of that. What spark plug wires do you think about using? Well, I think that the way we'll set it up, I'm hoping with the Haltech, is that we'll run LS coil packs on it. And so we'll run LS plug wires. My car mods did turbo swap from JDM spec in Japan for the parts. I'm a big fan of their stuff. How can I make 400 to 500 horsepower on a 302 HO? I have endless videos up on how to make like 400 horsepower. That's head cam and intake manifold. For 500, you usually boost any of the superchargers, a Vortec. So shout out to the Vortec guys. Good heads, airflow research heads, or turbo. Any of those will do it. Nitrous, you add 100 shot of it. Christopher, I think that the LT ones he's talking about are the Gen 5 stuff, the new direct injected stuff. You know them technically, definitely Windsor, but they are both just engines. Yeah, we don't. I don't know. Like if you say that that's a Windsor engine or whatever, that doesn't mean anything to me because we don't ever see that engine here. So I don't hear that designation every day. I know a couple of guys back then that dab with mega squirts on the Swifts. Yeah, and that's definitely doable. Amazing way to maximize everything, but a pain to install. But inexpensive though. I mean, those are Those are pretty inexpensive to get to work. And then once one guy does it and he's successful, the next guys that do it have fewer problems. Are you planning to use a different engine platform from older days in future testing? Are you still talking about the Metro or the Chevy Sprint? Are you still talking about that? We're not using a different engine platform. We're using the same engine that I have used every time I've run the Chevy Sprint. It's the Chevy Sprint motor. But we will do we'll do a much higher power level though with that. I thought that the Honda motor on the mower, like the Civic engine, you could probably make a lot of power even on just 3 cylinders. Yeah, you could do it. Guys have done that, but I wanted to do the Civic with a 1 liter B series, and it just took a custom crank to make it work. If you're doing a standalone, I have a trigger wheel for a distributor delete for the G10s. Yeah, send me a photo of that, will you, Morgan? That would be cool. That just would make life easier. Ford should have only made the Cleveland. I think the Cleveland would have had a hard time like getting through smog stuff. 5-liter Windsor, just like Mustang or Explorer, intake is on backwards, so the filler is on the other side. The inline 6 is just a single Canberra, just full counterweight from the factory. Thanks, I'm still on LT1, different because of my 95 Impala. What compression are you running? Well, the initial ones will just be stock compression. I don't know the answer to that on the aftermarket Wiseco pistons because it's been 10 or 15 years since I've looked at them. I don't remember what they are. I don't remember if they are a replacement dish or dome or flat top like a stock one. I don't remember. It's at least stock, and it could be higher than stock. I would like it to be higher than stock, quite honestly. We don't have to worry about having it be low compression. Back in the day, they were supercharging propelled by the water escape the engine. Did they work? I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. Just modify the computer parameters on temperature, air charts. Don't get to change the fan temperature settings. Using a stock drivetrain, think I'll have any trouble. It hasn't yet. And we use stock drivetrains to go 227 on the Civic. We're not shock loading the transmissions, the drive shafts, or the axles or anything. So it's the way that they break them is because they're loading and unloading them. So it's like the coat hanger thing. You're twisting and untwisting it and shock loading it, and it doesn't want to do that. We're not doing any of that because we're just rolling into the throttle really easy. So the most load on it probably happens at top speed where we're against an aerodynamic wall. Like I say, single Canberras, they can run on each other's ECU, same bell housings, pistons. Okay. Oh, you want to see a different test engine? Like an Oldsmobile nailhead? I probably will never run a nailhead. Has enough gear or increased RPM to compensate? Yeah, we have the gearing that I'm putting in it will allow it to run, and the tire size that we're running will allow it to run. I'm thinking 6,500 RPM, which is a little higher than factory. It's about 500 RPM past where I think the red line is. This motor right now makes peak power at 5,800. 65 is realistic with the ported head, the cam, and the shorter runner intake that we have. But this car could go, 160 plus miles an hour with the combination that we have together. And that's way more than all of the records. So I'm not planning on that, but we have enough gearing to do that. Any video of your previous Sprint? The Sprint never went 200. It wouldn't go anywhere near that. It went 100 and almost 120 in a standing mile. And the record that it beat was like 117. The Civic went 227. Yeah, I don't have any. I do have a Buick. I have a 455 Buick, but it's not a nailhead. I don't have any Oldsmobile engines. But I will be running a Pontiac. And actually, the guys from Airflow Research just reached out and said, we have small block Dodge heads that we want you to run. So I probably will run a set of those on the Magnum. 200 sounds sketchy in a tiny car. Yeah, not in a Civic Si, because that's about the size of a BMW. That one was a sedan. I mean, it's a two-door, but it's a sedan, and that thing was very, very stable. Are you going to use exotic materials in your drive axles? No, we're just going to use stock ones. We don't need to have that. There's not a lot of, like I said, there's no load on it. We're not drag racing it. We might resort to a lightened flywheel, exotic aluminum, although they're expensive. So I don't know that we're going to do that either. No, we don't have to have carbon fiber stuff or anything like that. That's not necessary. I don't think it is. I mean, somebody else might know if the 4-cylinder like Swifts, I don't know if the axles are stronger on those, and I don't know if they're the right length for the earlier Mark I stuff with that transmission. Unobtainium is very strong. That's right. We'll use vibranium or adamantium. What's it cost to put a cage in the Sprint? I don't know. I'm just going to buy the material, and I think Jimmy's going to do the bending. 13-inch wheels are going to see some serious RPM. Yeah, the Sprint has the Metro has 12-inch wheels. We can put 13s or 14s or 15s on it, but what I'm looking at is the OD. So we want to make sure that the tire diameter, it's going to be somewhere in the 22-inch range. How much are you allowed to change and add aero? You're allowed to do that in some of the classes and not at all in other classes. Do flat floors? Yeah, on some of the classes, we can do belly pans, full belly pans. We did that on the Civic in the class that we ran in. Yeah, 12-inch wheels. The factory tires on the XFI were 145 80/12s. So, but the nice thing is that the tires are really cheap for them. Would ZZ4 camshaft be fine to swap into a stock L98? Springs and retainers would be fine. Stock L98 cast iron heads can accept up to 500 lift. The ZZ4 has 510 on the exhaust. Should I be fine? No, you need to change the springs. If you're going from a stock cam to that cam, you need a spring upgrade, not just because of the lift, but also because of RPM potential. So did you decide to go Sprint because it would just make life easier because the XFI was just too gross? You didn't want to live in it. I didn't want to be in it for very long. But also the Sprint allows me to run in one of the classes that I want to set a record in that the Metro would not allow me to do that in. I know the top speed mods equal fuel economy mods. Yeah, for aero stuff, definitely. But even within the aero stuff, a lot of stuff that Eco Motors and stuff are doing, that's not allowed in a lot of the stuff. In one of the classes, you can like stretch the nose and chop it and make it look like it's just this super elongated like car. We're not doing any of that. The class that I ran the Civic in, you were allowed to do that. And we could have gone a lot faster had we done all that, but I wasn't going to chop up my Civic to do that. The car was too nice, and we could already go fast enough to do what we did need to do. Go to 14-inch wheels, run flats on low profiles. This is the one time you probably should. Are you talking about run flat tires? We couldn't do that. The best thing to put on there are the front runners, but those are really expensive now. So we're probably just going to put a V-rated tire on there and a narrow one because that's why the front runners are so nice, because you want something that's 4.5 inches. You don't want to put a big fatty tire on there. What type of aero mods can you do for a street that would be effective? A rear belly pan, a front belly pan, an air dam, all of those things help. Get rid of the mirrors, all of that stuff helps. Yes, the axles are stronger. I think that they're the correct length. Streamline or sprint. Put up email, Richard. I'll send you a couple of pics of those engines that were on the mowers. A drop tank. I do like, we were talking about doing that. We needed a front. I wanted a front wheel drive belly tanker. Killer B16. BMS rims are good, budget friendly. You're looking for front runners. We would do the Space Saver spares for Bonneville. The thing is, for Bonneville, because of the rules, we would have to seam weld those, but it was not that big a deal. We got a good welder to do that. Seam weld them and then balance them, put the front runners on there, and that's what we ran on the Civic, and it worked really good. Motorcycle tires like 4-lug Thug has HD white walls on 4-inch rims. Transmissions are the same-ish, different final drives. I was told that the later trans, like in the Mark II stuff, is not the same as the Mark I. I'm getting a final drive from one of those. I know that those interchange, but I was told that the transmission itself and then maybe also the axles and stuff are different. So like the Metro one, the one that I have, like 93 or 94 or whatever, does not interchange with the Mark I Sprint transmission. I don't know if that's the case or not. That's just what I was told. Does Moon make smoothies for 12-inch wheels? I know that's a consideration but you know what? On the factory, the factory Sprint Turbo has flat wheel covers, has flat hubcaps. I don't think that they'll let me run them because I think that they have to be attached with Zeus fasteners. But the factory ones are actually fairly smooth. Is it BE or BEE? It's BE, just like I wrote it. It's not BE. It's only Killer BE. Just like it shows. Having smooth wheels with no spokes on the rear, mud flaps in front of the wheels, hides side skirts. Yeah, in one of the classes, we have to run it the way that it came. We could put the Bonneville Moons on it, but all of the body panels and everything, all of those have to be stock. Swift GTs are a little beefier in certain things, but all bolt patterns are the same. The one thing that we will do is we probably will run clutches from the 4-cylinder stuff. I'm the only person who has had a valve stem pop out at 165. I don't think I've ever had that happen. As far as power, I'm just trying to move the power band with the ZZ4 cam. I'm thinking about a 700 R4. Should be a big improvement. Ever did testing with that. It's an 89 GTA. That cam should be a lot better than a stock L98 cam. You're going to change the glass for polycarbonate? No, we don't care about weight. Weight is not an issue at Bonneville. So we run factory glass and everything. Had an 87 Turbo Firefly with different trans and the regular Sprint, different axles, different hubs. When I was at the Suzuki school, they had a Swift turbo engine on a stand, some huge outboard engines that looked to be about 8 feet tall. The one thing I need to find out, I need to verify this because I don't know on a hatch like that. I would like to run a spoiler off of the top of the hatch, not at the bottom, not at the base of the glass, at the top, because that's the important part. You want the air to trail, because the problem with that hatch is that as the air goes off of it, there's a big area there's low pressure there. That's just big hands trying to draw back the motor or draw back the car. That's drag. And so what you want to do is you want to taper the air off of that top and taper it down smoothly. I don't know how much of that they'll let us get away with, but we'll see. Because one of the things I saw and looking at the photos of the Firefly stuff is that later body style, like the Metro that I have, they have the cool like dual element like bi-wing on it, like they had on the XR4 Ti's and stuff. It's something like that. Metro Trans are the same as the Swift GTs. Yeah, it's just the early and late ones that I don't know about. I've had a tire lose its tread at 75. Richard, I have a question. I have a 454. Just got built by machine shop. I was wondering if a cast high-rise Q-jet intake can handle a 150 shot of nice. Yeah, it's not going to care at all about that. Porsche wheels had those little aluminum supports for the valve stems so they don't break off. Yeah, and when we were running the Silver State, they and at the Bonneville also, they mandate steel valve stems and caps. Okay, Danny, I'll take a look at them. We got one more minute, still 91%. We'll end our poll. Danny, you're in my spam. I de-spammed you. Oh, so they're on riding mowers. For some reason, I was thinking that they were on push mowers. Why do turbo headers make more power than OEM exhaust manifolds? Does it have to do with heat transfer effect of heat gas pressure? A header flows more air than the stock exhaust manifold does. Can the rear bumper fall off? No, I'm a spammer. No, the rear bumper can't fall off. You don't want it to fill up, but I think if I remember right, it's been a while since I looked under there. I think that the lower part of the rear bumper attaches. It actually bolts to the to like the spare tire well or the gas tank or something that's down there. So I think the rear valence doesn't fill up like it does in a Mustang and other things. Let's be my Lux parts that start falling off. Yeah, given it's an old car, I mean, I want to go through and make sure that the bearings are good and all that stuff. Older car gas tanks are pretty good diffusers. Yeah, we did the Mustang and the Civic were both used for that. But we did make, like I said, we made belly pans for both of them, and I did that on the Sprint. I drove around like that all the time. We want the rear bumper to fall off if air is going into the back of the, on the inside of the bumper. We want it not there anymore. But that's not as good as having it flow out properly, because you actually want it to energize the low pressure area back behind the car. One more minute. Uno momento más. Compressed air to release into the low pressure zones at top speed. 87 Sprint turbo. If you wired up the wastegate, will boost to 11 pounds through the intercooler. Blow off valve only year it was built into the intercooler. Might have done it back in the day. I don't know. You mean wire up the wastegate? Like stop the swing valve from opening altogether? If you don't open the wastegate, you'll get more than 11 pounds. And the wastegate is, the blow-off valve was part of that. So I changed mine over. I welded up a tile one. And you'll get more than 11 pounds, and you'll get more than 11 pounds, especially down low where the turbo can support it. Time Attack guys cut the bumper to remove the catchment part, but yeah, an actual diffuser. Yeah, I've seen guys hole saw the backs of the Civics and stuff. We just did it correctly. We just put a belly pan on it. Remember 90s NASCARs, they tried to rip the rear bumpers off. The intercooler on 87 had a built-in blow-off valve. Well, 87 and 88 should have been the same, right? I'm going to go look at my photos right now. There's that photo. It's kind of hard to see. Where are my other Sprint photos at? Desktop documents, pictures, Sprint. There we go. Sprint buildup. That's the ported head and stuff. Yeah, I had the bypass valve welded to my the end tank of my aluminum intercooler when we did that. And then I think it was on the same spot on the there's that one. Yeah, it was on the back side of it. It was on the end tank, just like I did on the other one. And I got rid of that and put a tile aluminum one on there. And then ran a big hose around. Worked out good, though. Worked out very good. Bringing back memories. Only the 87 front, from what I could tell. 87 and 88 in the US were the same motor. There was no change. Thanks for the response. Was wondering if I need a different intake because I don't know if the small front primaries on the intake would mess up fuel distribution through the ports. I don't know that that's going to be a problem. But on that note, it is time to go. But I will see you guys all tomorrow, and fingers crossed. I don't know if I have it, if I get it, and I don't know if I'll have it running tomorrow. But I got to try some stuff though. All right. See you guys all tomorrow.